Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Let's Read Witch on the Holy Night. Anyways, it's not night, it's morning. Specifically early the next morning. God, it's like 5 a.m. where it's like dark but it's not. You can just see the clouds. What a time. It was 5. Wow. I just called it, huh? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Most people were still in their beds sleeping. Although some 24-hour convenience stores had opened last year, Misaki Town was still very much living in the good old days of the early 80s. The concept of there being places that legitimately are closed at night is very strange to me. I don't think I've ever lived in a world where we haven't had 24-hour convenience stores. Even the tofu shop in the shopping district, known for opening earlier than anywhere else, didn't open till 6. But this was the late 80s, during the latter half of Japan's bubble economy. There it is. There it is, baby! If you are playing a game set in the 80s to 90s of Japan, you're going to get the words bubble economy. You're going to get that. It was a time when metropolitan areas never slept. Those in the countryside, however, remain in the past. The homes were blanketed in silence. The streets were empty of commuters, and not a single automobile could be heard. The sun was just barely peeking over the horizon. I'll be honest, part of me does feel sad about those days being gone. You know, the endless commutes of people being up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, driving around, and night owls who just, their day starting at night, kind of miss the idea of the world of night being the world of night. But then again, walking around the night is pretty cool too, so I kind of appreciate it being a living world still. The town would still be asleep for at least an hour longer before it began waking up. It was during this time that someone stepped onto the Kuonji estate. Sojiro was working the late shift during winter vacation and had just come home. Oh, frick, that sucks. He moved quietly through the drawing room so he wouldn't wake up Aoko and Alice, who were presumably still asleep. The Kuonji estate had a few established rules. One of those rules forbade more Japanese tea. Strange. This new rule had only come into effect 3 days prior. It was proposed after Alice saw Sojiro drinking green tea in the kitchen after dinner one night.
Oh?
Looking back on it, the decision had been made rather abruptly. That single gasp of surprise was all Alice said. She grasped her head as if she was battling the most vicious of migraines, called for Aoko, then made the decision to ban all Japanese teas from this mansion. By some miracle, Aoko managed to negotiate and keep Sojiro's privileges to barley tea during the summer. Barley tea is interesting. I don't love it, but I understand that it is the best for iced tea. Barley tea, when you mix it with some either honey or the agave mixture stuff to make it sweet with some ice, that's good. But otherwise it's just wheat water.
だいたいイギリス産だって初めはグリーンティーが主流だったじゃない。
The British killed and slaughtered thousands, completely commodified countries, just for the green tea. Aoko had clearly hit a nerve with this argument. Aoko stared at Alice, fairly certain why she was so taken aback by Sojiro's actions.
そこまで嫌がらなくてもな。お茶はなんだって美味しいのに。
Oh, she's a tea connoisseur and you're a tea noob. Sojiro grumbled to himself while sipping his hot green tea. He didn't realize that Alice was upset because he had poured his green tea into a teacup meant for black tea. There's different types of cups. I understand green tea looks nice in the little round cups, the ones with no handle. Those, it looks good there. But I would not say that it's mandatory. Heck, I usually just pour tea into a coffee cup. In Sojiro's defense, this was the only teacup that Alice had given him permission to use. At any rate, the early morning was his to enjoy. This was his moment to relax with the Japanese tea set he'd smuggled in. He didn't use his time to read books or watch TV. He just drank his tea and gazed fondly at the garden, or rather the dense woods outside. Sergio simply sat, relaxed, and let his mind wander. God, I wish I could do that. About an hour passed. Just as he was beginning to feel refreshed, he heard sounds coming from the foyer. He knew it was Alco and Alice talking, so he rushed to hide his teacup, teapot, and tea leaves in the kitchen. Hiding the contraband was easy enough, considering just how many unused shelves there were in the kitchen. Sojo was perturbed by how they wasted the potential of such a splendid kitchen.
あら、早いのね、宗十郎。
Aqua spoke as she took off her white down jacket. Next to her, Alice silently took off her black coat.
いや、今帰ってきたんだ。天城浜の食品工場に深夜のパートで入ることになって。
Jeez,
その帰り。
that's an industrial job. Sojiro stuck his head out from the kitchen and gestured that he was about to put on some water to boil. Alice tilted her head slightly at him. It wasn't that she thought his gesturing was funny or anything like that. Can she smell the tea?
天城浜から
Alice oh no, she just didn't know. Alice glanced up at the clock in the drawing room. Her expression darkened.
どうしたのアリス。
Ako asked this from her comfortable seat on the sofa.
別に。
Alice responded indifferently, before finally sitting down as well.
宗十郎、砂糖は一杯だけだからね。
Ako yelled, her matter of course request into the kitchen. Sojiro didn't respond, but it was an affirmative silence. This was the result of 2 entire nights' worth of cramming that Alice knew nothing about.
アリスは？
私はミルクだけでいいけど。
Alice responded out of obligation.
了解。ミルクティーだね。
Tea with milk is nice. For some reason, Sojiro dutifully answered Alice's request.
ま、いいけど、いちいち突っ込んでたらキリがないし。
You could really go like I usually go with a bit of honey for if it's a fruitier tea. But milk is also really nice in it.
それより珍しいじゃない。
Maybe if I'm feeling
アリスがティ
fancy,
ーバッグのお茶飲むなんて。
I'm feeling fancy, I'll pop out like the proper cream. Oh.
今日は疲れたから、たまには。
It seems she had allowed herself to accept another's kindness, at least for today.
ま、いいか。それより宗十郎、あんた、さっきお菓子のこと言わなかった？
え？別に言ってないぞ、そんなこと。
そう、ならいいんだけど。
The two were conversing over a distance of 4 yards. Alice decided to add her opinion to the conversation.
しずきくんがおかしなことを言わない日はないと思うわ、私。
Yeah. Her quiet tone was luckily just low enough that Sojiro couldn't hear her from the kitchen.
そりゃそうだけど、今ちょっと変だったでしょ？いや、何が引っかかったのかまではわからないんだけどさ。
そうね。会話自体は普通だったけれど、内容を考えてみると、どこかおかしいわね。
Ako became gradually more irritated as she failed to grasp what had been odd about the conversation. Just then, Sojiro appeared holding a tray with a teacup for each of them.
何を話してるんだ？単に新しいアルバイトを始めただけだろ。
He put the cups down on the black table without making even the slightest sound. Alice couldn't complain about how proper his job as a waiter had made him. While she didn't say anything out loud, she did nod in his direction to show some gratitude. Oh my god, Queen, thank you for this tithe. Aoko, however...
天城浜だっけ？あそこってスタジアムがあるところでしょ？ツアーの会場になるから時々行くけど。
I forgot you're into music. Just a small thing about you that It's a nice little character detail that is easy to put in the background. The student council president, a supposed model student, loved rock bands. Ako was secretly obsessed with the number of bands and used to travel way out of town just to see them perform live when she was in middle school. I like how that's regarded as rebellious behavior. I mean, it's no different than the fact that, again, here I am teaching in China and it's students with dyed hair. Oh, rebellion. Students dating, that is extreme rebellion. Meanwhile, back home, kids will just stab each other and then they're fine. They're allowed in school. It's fine, whatever. Who cares? They'll get better, right? We'll just have the other students. They'll just rub off on them. It's great, yeah. People wonder why I moved to teach, you know. It's nice not having to worry about getting stabbed. Of course, this was a world that Sojiro was far from familiar with.
それよりまた新しいバイト始めたんだ。そんなに働いてどうする気なのよ、宗十郎は。
To be fair, you are making him pay rent for no discernible reason.
ああ、よく聞いてくれたね。本人の名誉のために名前は伏せるけど、誰かさんと誰かさんが俺の少ない収入を無慈悲に奪っていくから、働く先を増やしたんだ。
Dang. My man's actually being passively aggressive. Passive, but it's aggressive nonetheless. This was as much resistance as Sojiro was able to give. Ako lifted her teacup to her mouth as if completely oblivious to Sojiro's monologue.
それは大変ね。
Just like, wow, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. Oh, yeah. Alice said this as she set her teacup down quietly. There were some things she just did not understand. Ako had to hold back her laughter as she looked at Alice and Sojiro.
言った自分が未熟だった。
Sojiro's shoulders fell as he said this. He took a sip of his black tea, still unsure about the taste.
まあ、アルバイトが多いって分かってくれるだけでいいか。
Some people work hard just to let people know that they're working hard, you know? Some people work hard because if they don't, they feel like they're wasting their life.
そういったわけだから、冬休み中は夜も留守にする。例の薬はアルバイト先で飲むしかないんだけど。
ああ、それなら心配いらないわ。もうあれはやめたから。
Is she just gonna be like, don't worry, I just lied?
いちいち作るのも面倒だし、もっとしずきくんに似合うのを見つけてきたの。
Oh no. Oh no. Ako had a huge ominous grin on her face. Like this face is the definition of a shit-eating grin. She put her hand into her jacket pocket and pulled out a little paper bag. It was a small circular object about 20 inches in diameter, wrapped up nicely, like a present.
はい、これは入居祝い。これからはそれをつけておくのよ、宗十郎。
I swear, if it's like a choker that just says like Alco's bitch on it. Sojiro opened the paper bag. Inside was a white belt. Oh my god, is it actually going to be a choker? But it wasn't a belt for putting... Oh no! But it wasn't a belt for putting around your waist to keep your pants up. To put it as clearly as possible. Oh my god! Oh my god! It was a collar.
青子。
Even Alice is like, this is kind of messed up. Alice's expression darkened at this turn of events, but it wasn't clear whether it was her friend's insidiousness or sympathy for Sojiro that concerned her.
どう？気に入った？
Oh my god. Aoko was clearly a little crazy. At least she wasn't totally serious. It was obvious that it was at least half a prank to just see how Sojiro would react. But Sojiro was solemnly considering the collar he had just been gifted.
意味はつかみかねるけど、こういうものを人からもらうのはこれが初めてだ。
I'm gonna be honest when I say this, bro. That's really, really sad. He actually sounded like this would be a happy memory for him. Is this just a wholesome version of Denji and Makima? Alice narrowed her eyes at what was transpiring.
けど、これは何に使うんだ？
Oh boy.
簡単よ。金庫寺と同じで、飼い犬が主人に逆らうと首を絞めるの。
Really?
あっちは頭につけてたけど、それよりは首のがマシでしょ？
Huh. Sojiro grimaced when he finally understood Aoko's mean-spirited gift. He really wanted to ask what kind of person comes up with such an evil idea.
つまり秘密をばらしたり逆らったりしたら首が締まると。やっぱり熱でもあるんじゃないのか、青崎は。
あら、首輪は嫌？せっかく宗十郎に似合いそうなものを見つけたのに。
You're literally calling him a dog. Ako still had an evil grin on her face. But Sojiro had a surprising response to this gift that Ako had clearly gotten as a prank.
それもそうか。毎日毒を飲むよりはマシだし、このベルト自体いいものだし。
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for him to wear this dog collar, go to work, go to school, and when people say, "Why are you wearing that?" Why? He goes, "It's because of the girl I live with." And especially at school, he'd be like, "Yeah, Aoko makes me wear it." Because he'll say it with complete sincerity to a point where no one would even think he's lying or telling a joke. They would think of it 100% seriously because he is saying it seriously. Just without the context of it being a magical item, right? Amazing.
気に入った。ありがとう、青崎。
She's gonna feel like such shit. The fact that her prank backfired. Yep. He spoke 100% truthfully. She's so mad. She's so mad. Ako's face contorted in disbelief and she could only mumble if he was serious.
人の行為はどんなものだって嬉しいよ。
Wow, way to have this backfire.
それに、それが青崎ならなおさらだ。
And with that, Sojiro put on the belt around his neck. He placed it over the bandages already there.
こんな感じかな。きついけどそのうち慣れるだろう。
Oh my god, what is this gonna look like? Despite his words to the contrary, Sojiro tugged at the belt uncomfortably and adjusted it. It was such a perverse scene that even Aoko's face was as red as a beet, even though this had all been her idea. Perhaps it was because it gave her such a clear reminder of the scars she had seen the day before.
よし。
Wow!
止め方はこれでいい
Never
のか。
mind! That legitimately looks more normal. That looks actually way more normal than your weird mummy man shtick.
ね、
Ako retreated. I'm gonna be honest, I was expecting it to be a massive, like, literal dog collar. That's fine. It's still a choker, which is still funny. Because, like, I feel Aoko, one, unironically, would go to Hot Topic and Spencer's and buy a lot. But two, would wear chokers. But the fact that she's pushing it on him, it's kind of kinky. Aoko retreated guiltily as Sojiro came closer for her to check the fit of his new collar.
と思ってちゃわからないのに。
No, that looks completely normal, actually. And it's only because the way it's resting on his clothing makes it look like it's part of a shirt.
いいよ。アリスに聞くから。
Sojiro shifted his gaze from Aoko to Alice. Alice stared intently at Sojiro wearing his new collar and said,
ロックね。青子、趣味に走りすぎよ。
What did I say? It's because, yeah, it's Hot Topic. It is, yeah, exactly. She could not have put it any more bluntly.
いや、やかましい、そんなんじゃない。もういい、とにかくそういうことよ。これからはその首輪が薬の代わりよ。
So,
せ
like-
いぜい秘密を守ることね。
So, like, how... You're gonna give him, like, a final pill or something, right? To stop it, because it's supposed to go away, right? Because it kills the last one, so what's gonna happen? Ako is oddly empathetic, is she? Or emphatic, rather. Very different word. As she spoke before stomping off toward the hallway.
それと、これからお昼まで仮眠を取るけど、くだらないことで起こしたら殺すから。
She's so mad that her prank backfired entirely. She's so mad. Aoko slammed the door behind her as she left the drawing room. Sojiro stared in amazement. He does not understand the females. It's fine, bro. They're mysterious creatures.
なんで青崎はいつもいきなり怒るんだろ
He murmured to himself, forgetting that Alice was standing right there in front of him.
しずきくんには悪意が通じないからでしょう。気にする必要はないわ。
Don't worry. Don't worry, bro. It's just how it is.
う。悪意って今のが
Alice looked up at Sojiro's innocent response. There was a glimmer in her eyes that showed surprise at her current actions.
なんでもないから気にしないで。
With that terse reply, she returned to her usual expressionless self. There was no use explaining Aoko's feelings. Aoko bought that collar for the sole purpose of annoying Sojiro and causing mischief. When things didn't turn out how she planned, her conscience got the better of her. Sojiro mistakenly thought that Aoko was angry at him, when in reality, she was only angry at herself. Alice didn't bother telling Sojiro all these heartwarming details, though. Not because it was too much work, just because she was never one to have meaningless conversation. That was how she had been raised.
しずきくんはこれからどうするの？
Alice suddenly changed the topic. Sojiro thought for a while before replying.
夕方までゆっくりするよ。ここのところ忙しすぎた。
It's true. Rest is a very important thing.
せっかくだからテレビも見ていたいし、お昼には青崎を起こさないといけないだろ。
Dang. You want to watch TV. For some reason, that's surprising to me.
そう。なら静かにしていて。
Alice let out a gentle sigh and rose to her feet. Just keep it quiet. Sojiro would understand exactly what she meant by those words in just a few minutes. Starts watching Kamen Rider. Sojiro sees Kamen Rider and just thinks it's real. It's like, Aoko, can you believe that these guys are real? Aoko's like, yeah, they are. Trust me, they totally are. The sun shining through the window was bright. It was just about 9 o'clock, about time for the morning television programs to get going. Oh, right. Speaking of 24-hour stuff, it destroys me that there was a time when TV just stopped airing. Like, there was periods where the TV channels just be like, we're done for the day, thank you, we will see you next time. I don't think I've ever seen that myself. I think we've always had 24-hour TV cycles where it went with me growing up. I mean, mind you, it was just reruns at night and just random stuff with random commercials. It wasn't even like scheduled stuff really, but still, the idea of TV channels just getting to a time and being like, we're done, is very weird. When I was in Japan, I got there and it was, like early in the morning, like, 4 or 5 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I turned on the TV and it's just like a live stream of a cat. I'm like, what is this? Sojiro was sitting on the sofa, staring out the window at the scene outside. The view from the neighboring sunroom showed a courtyard in a state of disrepair. Sojiro could appreciate the outdoors in both its natural wild state and when tamed by human hands.
あれは近いうちになんとかせねばなるまい。
Sojiro muttered to himself, turning another page in his textbook. On the table before him was a mathematics textbook and a notebook with Aoko's name on it. Although at first glance he appeared to be a diligent student studying on his day off, in truth, he was in truth only doing it as a compromise. He had given up on his main intent of watching the morning television shows. The reason why he gave up was simple. He was being considerate of Alice, who sat in front of him with her nose buried in a book. Instead of holding up herself in her room, she brought out her old dusty books to read. This is what she meant when she said to keep quiet, so Sojiro found it difficult to turn on the TV.
とりあえずしばらくテレビは控えよ
With that decided, Sojiro resigned himself to reviewing some of the practice problems he'd gotten wrong. In the drawing room, for some reason. There wasn't any particular purpose in doing it there, but he had no real reason to study back up in his room. Sometimes it's nice to just be in a common room, Sometimes it's just nice to be in a room with someone else quietly. And so there he was, leisurely highlighting his textbook with Alice there in the same room. To Sojiro, there really was no difference between his room in the attic and the drawing room with Alice. To be fair, you could probably live with a tiger as long as it didn't cause any trouble. That was both Sojiro's biggest strength and his biggest weakness. Before he knew it, the clock was showing 7. He'd spent 2 hours doing his math problems, but wasn't even halfway finished. More than that, he was disappointed in himself for lacking the courage to speak up at all.
それに比べて青崎は頑張ってる。
That is a cute little collar, actually. It works for him. He dropped his mechanical pencil onto the notebook and watched it roll away. He knew that Aoko and Alice were busy with something since final exams had ended. He also knew that she had hardly gotten any sleep recently. If she had been able to ignore him during exams, she probably would have had an easier time. Today's nap was probably the first proper sleep Aoko had gotten in days. Though she showed no signs of exhaustion despite the fact she must have hit peak long ago. She always seemed raring to go. It wasn't that she was trying to act tough. That was just the kind of person she was. Always positive, always tough as nails. That was exactly why she came off as completely irrational at times. But if that was the case, you could probably describe Alice in exactly the same way. Sojiro couldn't help but feel a bit inadequate when he saw their single-minded focus on their goals. He'd been so preoccupied with adjusting to his new life that he'd neglected to think about what he was going to do with himself after. Thinking about this cast a gloomy cloud over his heart. He felt like he'd never find a clear purpose in life like Aoko and Alice seemed to have. At least, not since he left the mountains. His old life was gone now, never to return. It was like a kite cut from its string, destined to fly only where the winds took it. And without anything to ground him, he couldn't do anything about the empty future that lay ahead. He could only let himself fly where the currents took him, slowly losing sight of the ground below.
そうだな。便利なものは溢れているけど、本当に望むものは。
Dang. This actually, I'm gonna be real here, this actually hit me today. Like where I am now with my life. I have everything I need. I have actually accomplished, I'd say, every dream I've had. Every dream I've had, I've accomplished. There's not one dream that I haven't done. And that, to me, scared me when I realized that today. I was thinking, I'm like, man, I have accomplished every single dream I've ever had. Like, I worked on a real professional video game. I moved out of Canada into Asia. It's not Japan, but it's close enough if I'm going to be honest. It's pretty much the same thing. I play video games. I can afford all of them that I want. I have time to do that. I've been with a woman. Hey, that's another thing checked off the list. I've collabed with pretty much every YouTuber I've ever wanted to. I accomplished everything. And like today I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, what's left? What's left? Right? I mean, there's things I can do, but every dream I've had has been completely completed now. And so, yeah, I feel you, bud. I feel you. I guess, you know, the next dream is something related to the Nasuverse. Still want to go on the big tour of all the King Arthur places. I want to see my girl. The town was full of options, but he could find nothing. He'd asked himself the same questions time and time again. It never made him feel any better. If anything, it only made him feel worse and worse. That, or maybe he felt that lamenting his own ineptitude would lead to him finding some kind of goal or desire someday. Tired of his own sniveling, Sojiro dejectedly closed his notebook. When he looked up, he saw his own face reflected back at him in the TV screen. His new collar was there around his neck, looking out of place as ever. Surprisingly, I think it doesn't look that out of place. Perhaps a fool like him, who felt weak when faced with others' strengths, did need to wear a collar after all.
まったくだ。悩むのは一丁前になってから。
He shook off his thoughts of doom and gloom and sat up straight. After psyching himself up a little, he stood up from the sofa.
よし。何か作るけど、アリスは？
Sojiro asked casually. While Sojiro had been doing his own thing, he remained mindful of Alice. Alice looked up, surprised at hearing her name. She'd completely forgotten Sojiro was even there.
私
Oh, wow, she is surprised.
ああ、アリス朝から紅茶しか飲んでないだろ。どうせ作るならいっぱい作った方がお得なんだ。
God, the fastest way to a woman's heart's through her stomach. Without waiting for a reply, Sojiro headed off to the kitchen while putting on his apron. Oh, wow, yeah, male life for sure. Alice tried to wave at him to stop, but by then he'd already disappeared into the kitchen. She was hesitant to walk all the way in there just to tell him she didn't need anything. And besides, she was actually hungry. Sojiro's proposal made sense, and her empty stomach agreed. Alice was hungry, and Sojiro was going to make lunch. Making lunch for both of them would save the time and trouble of cooking 2 separate meals. There was no logical reason for Alice to refuse his gesture. She decided to stay quiet and tacitly accept his offer.
変な人
That was so quiet.
変な人
So quiet. She whispered the words softly, not for anyone in particular to hear but herself. It's a really nice line read there. The truth was, however, Alice had been in a bad mood all morning. After checking all the sigils around Misaki City and boarding the first train back from Tokawa, all she wanted to do was spend the rest of her day reading until the words turned into a jumble. Her iron resolve to complete this task would not be interrupted by someone else milling about in the drawing room. This was her mansion. There was no way she was going to lock herself up in her room on account of Sojiro. However, with that said, she knew it would be wrong to kick Sojiro out for no real reason. As it stood, Sojiro had actually kept quiet like she'd asked. He wasn't in the wrong here. If Alice really wanted to be alone, she could have gone to her room.
静かにしてじゃなくて一人にさせてというべきだった
Alice had defiantly stayed in the drawing room despite realizing the dilemma she'd put herself in. She had figured Sojiro would eventually make a ruckus and run off to hide in his attic room. Her assumption could not have been no more wrong. Sojiro never left the drawing room. Moreover, she had actually stopped caring that he was there. Though he hadn't paid her any attention, he hadn't ignored her either. They had simply sat in silence together without any awkwardness. Alice felt the freedom of being alone, along with the comfort of someone being by her side. That's like the best feeling ever. To be being alone together is so comfy. To put it into words, Sojiro was just that kind of person. That was probably the only reason Alice had been able to sleep so soundly with him there next to her. Sojiro continued cooking in the kitchen. Yo, hold up. Let him cook. Oblivious to the thoughts that went through Alice's head. Now here's the question. Are we gonna get legit chef? Or are we gonna get... Okay, so here we go. On the sliding scale of Tonoshiki to Emyashiro, what sort of chef are we gonna get with Sojiro? Because that's a gulf, right? That is a massive gulf. Tonoshiki barely knows how to fry an egg. He's not bad, right? Like he's no Hisui. That's too far. But he can cook if he needs to, but he doesn't need to nor really want to. It's a necessity, not a thing, right? Emyashiro, like I'm talking, Emyashiro is the anime equivalent of like a Gordon Ramsay. Or better yet, no, let's go with like an actual like professional chef at this point. Like not a TV personality, but someone whose job it is to, well, not even a job, but just someone who loves to cook, right? So on a scale, where are we going to be? She couldn't see him from the drawing room, but she could easily imagine him cooking in the kitchen.
変な人ね
Alice resumed reading after unwittingly stating her feelings out loud a second time. The sunlight beaming into the drawing room showed that it was noon. The sunlight actually looked warm despite it being a cloudy winter day. Just as noon struck, Sojiro returned to the drawing room with 2 sets of plates. Some food of an... indescribable color was piled on the large cream-colored plates. Oh no. Oh no.
は
Oh no. Or are we putting Tonoshiki in the middle now? Oh no. She hadn't expected much. And since she also hadn't requested anything, she could just refuse if it was something she didn't want. But this food left her at a loss for words despite psyching herself up. This is an incredible image, by the way.
これは何？
Alice spoke as though she was terrified of what had been placed before her.
何って焼きうどんに何かかけてみた。
Oh! I don't even see the noodles. That's a new face. If Akko had been there, she probably would have punched him. But Sojiro just confidently placed the 2 large plates on the table. Steam billowed from the mountain of food like an angry volcano ready to erupt at any moment. The thick mystery sauce flowed over the plates as magma from said eruption, and below it were a seemingly infinite number of slimy, tentacle-like noodles. There was really nothing more to say about it. This was clearly the food of a poor, struggling student who favored quantity over quality. All that was required was a basic recipe, the will to cook something, and what few ingredients were needed. The pile of stir-fried noodles with sauce slathered on top was horrifically bad. It was so horrifically bad it was almost an art form. This was a bachelor's cooking, if she'd ever seen it. There really was nothing else you could call it. My man, it's dripping off the plate. That's how you know it's bad. She had wondered what he was doing for an hour in there, and it turned out he was making this sauce. No sauce would have been fine, but Sojiro had wholeheartedly gone the extra mile. Sojiro bowed his head slightly and picked up his chopsticks. Can I just say, the big black chunks there? That looks to be like the fungus that they put into cooking here. You've had ramen, you might have had it. I don't like that stuff. It's not right. Okay, what else we got? We got what looks like celery. Okay. Looks to be some chunks of perhaps potatoes. I think those are some carrots and mushrooms. Is that bok choy? What's the white circle? What is the perfectly round white circle? Oh God. This is non-Euclidean cooking. He had brought a fork for Alice, for he knew she was a filthy Westerner. Oh, there it is. She picked up the fork and stuck it into the noodles, half drowning in the sauce. Sojiro began eating, not seeming to care that Alice sat there, looking like she was about to eat poison. Seeming to view this as a challenge, Alice furrowed her brow and slowly brought the mass of noodles to her mouth. It was a little salty and ugly to look at, but it didn't taste all that bad. If anything, it was actually pretty good.
一つ聞きたいんだけど。
Is it how to cook? Like aesthetically pleasing dishes? Sojiro put down his chopsticks and turned to speak to Alice. He looked at her straight in the eyes and said, "Do you really put beans on toast? Is that a real thing?" Huh.
実際の話、魔術師の話はともかくとして、青崎はまだ誰にも手を出してないんじゃないか。
Alright. Pretty deep conversation to have over the hell noodles, but Alice looked up quietly at the sudden question. She had been inspecting Sojiro's meal, but now she looked straight at him.
おかしなことを聞くのね、しずきくんは。
アリスには悪いけど、これは青崎本人には聞きようのないことだから。言いたくなければ答えないでくれ。
I really appreciate it when characters say, like, I have a question for you. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to answer. I appreciate that, because honestly, I feel like we would have a much better world if more people just spoke to each other like that. Where it's, I have a question for you. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to answer. Don't think of this as me as leveraging my power. This is just me wondering. But if you truly do not feel comfortable, do not feel any obligation to answer. And just ignore the fact that I ever asked it, and we'll go on with life. That is the best way to have conversations about, deeper matters, right? Alice didn't respond. Sojiro resumed eating, not seeming disappointed. Alice stared blankly at him, slurping his nudes. After much hesitation, she replied,
しずきくんの言う通り、青子はまだ人を殺したことはないわ。その行為自体は何回かこなしてはいるけれど。
So she's been around death, but she hasn't killed herself? Alice's response was slow and measured. Sojiro still looked troubled. But not at the conversation they were having. Rather, he looked apologetic towards Alice. He said she didn't have to answer if she didn't want to. But Alice kept talking despite the face he was making.
しずきくんが見た公園での出来事が、青子にとって初めての殺人行為を。あいにく相手は人形だったけど。
Oh, see, I was under the assumption that the puppets and stuff didn't count. Interesting. Sojiro silently nodded. Alice narrowed her eyes at him suspiciously.
まるで初めから分かっていたそぶりね。
Sometimes it's nice to just ask for confirmation.
そうじゃな。いや、そうなのかな。たまにその手のセリフを言うけど、何か違う気がしたんだ。だから多分、青崎はまだ人殺しというのを体験していないんじゃないかって。
It almost feels like you're speaking from the perspective of someone who has.
でもまあ、そんなことよりもっと確かなのは、
しずきくんが今生きているということね。
Sojiro chuckled at Alice's stellar response. Exactly. Things would have been more clear-cut that night if Ako had actually killed someone before. Sojiro would have been dead before he even saw her face. For better or for worse, Ako remained inexperienced in spite of her ruthlessness and decisiveness. Sojiro relaxed his shoulders. His stern face gradually returned to its normal carefree state. Then...
でも、そんなことは関係ないわ。あの子はそのあたりが異常だから。行為は理性に、経験は知識でたやすく補ってしまう。そうね。青子はその気になれば、迷うことなく人の命に手を出せる。
she could, oh, for
しず
sure.
きくん風に言うのなら、だけど。
Yeah, if she had to, she could. I mean, out of all the crazy magics that exist in, you know, all the crazy unique ways of using magic that I've seen in the Nasuverse, Aoko's is pretty much just, I blow you up in a variety of ways. And with that, Alice went back to twirling noodles around her fork. She looks like she's having fun, Sojiro thought as he ruminated over what she just said. She was rational enough to accept herself, despite acting against society's morals, and possessed of an intellect that exceeded even the confidence gained through experience. Had Aoko been raised to utilize her logic and reason to forge reality from fiction? If that was the case, then perhaps they really were different from Sojiro.
すまない。こんなことを聞いたのは、青崎には内緒にしておいてくれないか。
Sojiro seemed serious, as if he really regretted asking. Alice's expression remained unchanged, but she had never intended on saying anything to Aoko anyway.
ありがとう。なんだか、アリスには内緒話ばかり溜まっていくね。
They actually do have a nice little relationship now, I'd say. I mean, Alice is still on the kind of tsundere train of like, I don't like you. But I feel like she actually does. Deep down, even if she doesn't recognize it herself. Sojiro went back to eating his food. Though Alice had still only had a single bite, he was already scraping his clean.
そういえば青崎にも聞いたんだけど、アリスと青崎はいつもああなのか？
Sojiro had suddenly decided to change the topic of conversation. His new topic was the rather cold and dry relationship between Aoko and Alice. Aoko said the relationship was normal, but maybe Alice had a different opinion.
会話が少ないことを言っているのなら、そうなるわ。けど、別に不便じゃないから。
Alice was still twirling noodles with her fork as she gave her concise answer. Around and around the noodles went, but none made it into her mouth.
不便じゃないって、そういうの仲がいいって言わないんじゃないのか？
私と青子の仲が良くないと、しずきくんは困るの？
Sojiro swallowed his words at Alice's perplexed reply. It would actually, but he wasn't sure how to respond when asked so directly.
いや、なんかこっちの考え方が悪かったみたいだ。もうその話題には触れないことにしたから忘れてくれ。それより、アリス。
Sojiro gave Alice a piercing stare that was more intense than any time they talked before. Alice was slightly taken aback at the unusually intense look in his eyes. I am waiting for him to say, "You're gonna eat that?" Her face became slightly flushed out of nervousness. Nobody besides Aoko had ever stared at her like this before. That is also a new face. Whether or not he noticed, Sojiro waited a few moments before speaking slowly and with complete conviction.
それ、
Oh my
食べ
god.
ないなら欲しいんだけど。
Oh my god. Okay, what's happening? Why do I have clairvoyance EX this part? That's 3 times now. Why was I given the gift of prophecy for this one video so perfectly? And I'm just never gonna have it again. Great. Great. An awkward silence followed.
悪いけど、これ。
Every joke I've made has come true. Alright. Time to make a crazy offhand one to just see if truly the world is bending towards my wills. Shizuki had cooked it, sure, but Alice wasn't wrong. He made it for her, after all. There was a slight tinge of anger in her voice, but even she wasn't sure why it was there.
そうだね。少し意地汚かった。
Sojiro plopped himself down on the sofa. This must have looked particularly pathetic to Alice, since she responded with,
その材料はもう残ってないの？
She quickly covered her mouth. Apparently, she had surprised even herself. It's quite unusual for her to ask something like that.
残ってないよ。青崎の分も作っちゃったから。
I was going to actually ask. I'm like, did you at least make some for Aoko? Because if not, she could be very angry. Sojiro stared a bit regretfully at Alice's plate as he responded. Alice could have just let it go, but for some reason she felt the need to speak up again.
青子なら眠っているけど。
Yeah.
いや、もうすぐ起こすか
Yeah,
ら。
same noise.
起きた後で作らされるより一緒に作っておいた方が楽だしね。
And honestly, if he didn't make something for her, he would have been killed immediately. Like, he would have been choked out. Just as soon as it happened.
と、もうすぐ1時か。ちょうどいい。行って起こしてくるよ。
What a good male wife.
青子
This is
は
the malest male
起こし
wife
たら殺すっ
episode.
て言ってたけど。
Alice wasn't sure why Sojiro was willing to take such a risk. Sojiro agreed but started walking anyway. What you do, buddy, is you go up there and be like, with the food and be like, hey, look what I got. And she'll be like, and then she'll be happy.
でもさ、今起こしておかないと、やっぱり後で殺される運命にあると思うんだ。
I mean, he could have been like, yeah, she won't kill me. She's never taken a life. But he's like, nah, she'll just kill me eventually, whatever. His words were surprisingly affectionate. Leaving Alice with only that, Sojiro headed to Aoko's room. Alice watched him leave in silence before taking another bite of the stir-fried noodles. Glancing at the door to the hallway to make sure nobody was coming, she took another bite. She repeated that process many times before finishing her food. Yes, that's called eating. It was then when she heard Aoko's wrath coming from the second floor. Alice stood up and began solemnly clearing the table, feeling a bit sorry for what Sojiro was dealing with. She knew she didn't really have to, but she felt like it was the least she could do for him. She never really expected to feel this way. But he'd cooked for her. It was surprisingly good. Almost enough to make her forget how bad he was at making tea. Legitimately, a very, very nice scene. A new book has been added to the archives, you say? We got a whiteboard. Okay, we got whiteboard in chapter 8. And the Carnegie case. Well, let's start with whiteboard then. Because that's weird that that wasn't a part of it, but okay. An unwritten schedule leaves both the process and the results unsettled. Toki Ulick. Toki? Hold up. Is that a real person?
失礼します。2の D のくまりです。
I type it in, and I get the Fate Stay Night quote on the Fate Stay Night Reddit. And it's just, is it someone also asking? I searched up the quote and the name, and nothing came up except for a decade-old forum post saying this is a joke and not concrete. Anyone know why the quote might be talking about? Yeah, but who is Toki Ulick? Presumably the founder of Kichiland, Tokitsu Yurihiko. Oh, okay. Wow. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me an answer.
体育館倉庫の鍵、職員室に返してきました。
Only Aoko was present in the second student council room where Kojika Kumari entered.
お疲れ。もうちょっとでバイト終わるから、そこ座ってて。
Aoko was seated at the long table surrounded by a pile of textbooks and using her pen to write rapidly. Strewn about the table were not school-specified notebooks, but rather papers for writing reports.
何してんの、青崎。課題？それとも補習？どっちにしても真面目なこと。冬休み始まったばかりなのに。そりゃあこんなところで特別清掃なんかに付き合わされているけどさ。これは別件。知り合いの大学生から流してもらった代筆のバイト。
What? Why would you do that? That's a waste of your time. And it's also, like, bad.
何年も前に提出されたレポートを丸写しにして、卒論クリアしようって話。
What? Oh, wait, hold up. Are you saying that it's just like there's no photocopier or something? What?
写本ならぬ写レポートかよ。
Yeah, what? That's an insane waste of time.
それ、どこの大学生？まさかミゾラ大じゃないでしょうね。
Kumari couldn't seem to hide her discomfort as she started thumbing through some of the reports next to Aoko. The slightly brownish-tinged reports had to be at least 10 years old.
そのまさかよ。知り合いの大学生なんてミゾラ以外にいるかっていうの。安心なさい。熊の兄貴たちからの仕事じゃないから。そもそもあんたの兄貴軍団、今年も残る気満々なんでしょ？
Well, they know each other. That's nice.
熊言わないで軍団もやめろ。
Her voice was snappy. Not that Aoko could judge, but this girl's unfriendliness could rival even her own at times. Kumari's speech was dry enough as it is, but when she got riled up about something, she really let it all out. Apparently, she got it from her father. She was trying to work on it, but it was hard to fix an old habit she had since elementary school.
けどこれ、どうなのよ。丸写しにしても古すぎて通らないんじゃない？そこはそれ、腐ってもタイというか。技術的に古い部分はピックアップしてあるから、テキスト参考にして数字だけ変えておいて。だってさ。何それ、本当にバカじゃないの。そこまで分かってるなら自分でやればいいのに。今日の朝から半日の稼ぎにしちゃ悪くないわよ。レポート1冊分で1万円。
Holy crap, $100 per report. Yeah, no, never mind. I thought you were just doing this out of the goodwill of your heart / out of an obligation. Nah. $100 per report, that's good money.
生徒会長が内職かよ。道理で築地に監督を任せたわけだ。
I think side hustle? Whoops. Okay, well, did not mean to do
今日
that.
の朝から。
Did not mean to press that.
生徒会長が内職かよ。
When did the phrase side
道
hustle
理で築
appear?
地に監督を任せたわけだ。
When did we get that? I'm gonna go to the dictionary. Cause I'm actually curious. Because side hustle should be in the dictionary. But when did this term kind of pop up? Merriam-Webster, please inform me. Is this a proper term from the time period? So I was actually looking at someone said something where they were really appreciating how no one really. Oh frick. Okay. Someone was saying that they really appreciate how none of the terms in the game, none of the slang seems out of place for the time period. And so that this one I feel is a very modern phrase, but according to Merriam-Webster, the first use of this term was in 1982, meaning that absolutely that is a term that still falls within the realm of this game's time period. Sick.
はい、他言は無用でお願いします。
Kamari relaxed a bit at Aoko's pleasant response and decided to sit down in the nearest chair. The room was silent, save for the sound of the scratching of Aoko's ballpoint pen. The sky was clear blue and there were boys in the rear courtyard playing baseball in their jerseys. With the special winter cleaning finished, it seems they decided to start enjoying their free
こ
time.
の寒いのによくもまあ。
Baseball is a man's sport, or something like that.
あれ2年の男どもだ。
Said boys were playing in teams of 5 since they apparently could not get enough people to play a proper game. It was a boring game of mostly strikeouts and poor hits, but, well, they sure seem to be having fun. Their yelling and hollering mostly consisted of bad words, naughty cussing, surprised yells, and cackling laughter.
あれホウスケとしずきが一緒なのはわかるけど、築地も一緒じゃん。青崎、あいつら仲いいの？
I don't know if I'd call them friends. Do I have autoplay on? Why is the autoplay button up there going? What button did I press for that? What button did I accidentally press to turn on autoplay? What button did I press? Start, skip. Oh, L1. Okay. Whoop.
はあ
Nope.
なんでよそのクラスの集まりに顔出してんのよあいつ。まあ裏山の清掃が終わってるなら文句はないけど。
Who knows? Maybe he does have friends. Why would you care?
お、投げた。築地ピッチャーできるんだ。基本あいつは何でもできるからね。本人サボり症でめったに動かないけど、本気出せば何だってこなすのよ。唯一足りない才能があるとしたら子供らしさってやつでしょうね。詳しいじゃない。
I mean, to be fair, he is the student council president.
青崎、築地と付き合ってるって本当？あいつと付き合うぐらいならあんたと付き合うわ。
Dang. I don't know if that says more about Tsukiji or more about Aoko, if I'm to be honest.
顔のいい男は好きじゃないし。やっ
Oh.
ぱり男はシュワちゃんぐらいじゃないと。顔のいい男は好きじゃないし、やっぱり男はシュワちゃんぐらいじゃないと。
So she's absolutely talking about Arnie. Okay.
シュワ誰それ？
Oh, she's...
グレートの方のコナンの主役やってる
Oh
人。
my god. Okay. New lore. Aoko has kind of got it going on for Arnie. Because you're talking about Conan the Barbarian. That's Arnie.
へえ、顎割れてないとダメなんだ。青崎って面食いかと思ってたけど、ごっつい系が趣味なの。
go to the gym and I start coming. I just start pumping and I start coming.
God, I forget how that actually thing goes. I just like to hear him go, yeah, I start coming.
別にそういうわけじゃないけど。教訓よ、教訓。なよっとしたやつとか、やけに口がうまいやつとか、気軽な男はほんと信用ならないっていうか。
It is worth mentioning that she's sharing this opinion after seeing how frickin' ripped Shizuki is. They continue their conversation, one staring at the report pages, the other gazing out at the schoolyard. They had met in high school and soon grew to be friends who enjoyed chatting together. Really? Okay. Huh.
青崎、冬休みはどうする？
I thought they were just more like
予定？
acquaintances, but interesting that they are legitimate friends.
一回ぐらいは遊びに行きたいんだけど、ちょい忙しくて。年明けに時間作るからそれまで待って。あ、B 組の山瀬さんたち誘う？確か去年も冬休みに上京してたでしょ、彼女ら。
See, this is just interesting now because, of course, Tsukihime Remake now takes place in Tokyo, right? Or at least, because, yeah, it takes place in, like, the suburb of Tokyo. So now when you mention Tokyo, it's like, oh, what's going on over there?
ああ、ありゃ私たちと系統が違う。生粋のお嬢様だからね。 青崎の趣味知ったらドン引きされるからやめといた方がいい。お、撃たれた。おお、柵越えた。あれってホームランってやつだ。やるじゃん、しずき。築地から一本取るなんて運動神経抜群ね。
I wonder if Aku's gonna be like, yeah, no, I saw him. He's freaking ripped.
そりゃ山育ちだし、それぐらい取り柄がないと。
Okay, she's still doing the whole. Well, I think he should be.
来年の身体測定、飛び丸とトップ争うんじゃない？山じゃ2時間歩きっぱなしとかザラだったそうだし、水泳部じゃなく陸上部に紹介すればよかった。詳しいのね。もしかして付き合ってるのあっちとか。あ、いや、さすがにないか。
The constant sound of Aku's ballpoint pen moving across his paper suddenly stopped. She stood up naturally from her seat, took a quick breath, to a break to pour some fresh tea, and then just splashed it right in her face. How dare you? And returned to her work without acknowledging what had been said.
冬休みの予定だけど、くまり、何かリクエストある？
Wow, she just Dempsey rolled that conversation.
別に見たい映画が溜まってるだけ。こっちじゃ上映しない映画をはしごしたい。青崎は？
God. This is the time when all those really, really, really good movies were coming out.
私は新しい冬物と CD 買えればいいかな。あ、その前にまずは CD プレイヤーか。そろそろ3万円切るはずなのよ、あれ。
Whoa. Whoa. I did not know there was a time when CD players were expensive. $300 for a CD player? Wow.
はあ。新しいもの好きよね、あんた。
ほう。
CD なんて高いだけで騒がれてるのは今だけだってば。
That's hilarious. What do you think it's gonna be? Think we're gonna go back to records? Well, we kind of did.
だいたい音楽なんてレンタルしてカセットテープに落とせば500円で済むじゃない。ベータデッキみたいにそのうち廃れるって。
I mean, she's not wrong, but at the same time, she's not right.
そう？私 CD は定番になると思うけどな。過
Dang.
去になるのはカセットテープの方よ。きっと。
Now that's the gift of foresight.
それはない。絶対ない。かけてもいい。だって CD って録音できないんでしょ？そんなのにカセットテープが負けるはずない。
Do I tell her I just bought a stack of 50 CDRs for $10? Mind you, I didn't use them to rip CD music. I used them to rip Sega Saturn games, but
クマは保守派だからな。政権交代は何にだってあるでしょうに。でもまあ、その賭け乗った。生徒会の歴史に書いておくからね。10年、いえ、5年後を楽しみにしていましょう。
you're not even that far off, I bet.
5年後か。いいね。ちょうど大学の終わりだ。青崎、東京の大学に行くんでしょ？どこし、実はまだ決めてないのよ。上京したいのは山々なんだけど。
Again, interesting. What with? Where? Would that actually... Like, I mean, obviously, assuming that she actually does this and doesn't go to the clock tower or, you know, anywhere else. I don't think she would go to the clock tower, though. Right? Because she's kind of a solo agent. But, like, that would mean that she'd be in college in Tokyo. No, never mind. I was going to say during the events of Tsukihime. Yes, during the events of Tsukihime, the original, but not Tsukihime Remake, which takes place now. Like 20 years, like, because this is 1980 whatever, like 90s roughly, right? So yeah, it's like 20 years instead of 10 years, so nope.
ありゃ意外。あんたのことだから向こう3年分ぐらいスケジュール組んでると思ったのに。
Akko laughed dryly at that obvious jab. Akko knew what direction she wanted her life to go in, but she didn't usually think too much about the details. Once she made a decision, she followed through with it. That was why she actually didn't write out a schedule.
クマ、終わったら駅前のラーメン屋付き合ってよ。体力使ったからなんかお腹減ってきた。そこは頭使ったから甘いもの食べたくなったにしといた方が女らしいと思うけどね。
Yo, ramen just... After work ramen hit different, though.
いいよ。うちでいいならサービスしとくけど。寄ってく？もちろん。持つべきものは女の友情。
The girls waited patiently for winter vacation to start in the student council room. Their free time after school is spent through this kind of frivolous conversation. Ako spent her nights as a mage and her days as a normal high school student. The conversations she had with her friends were no different from any other girls her age. She enjoyed both aspects of her life equally, even if one of those involved fighting against mortal enemies. That's the high school girl part, by the way.
ところで青崎、さっきの掛け金はどうする？
そうね。私も鬼じゃないし、その時の貯金
Oh my
一応
god.
手を打つわ。
Oh my
根こそぎ
god.
奪うのは勘弁してあげる。
That's terrifying. She wasn't lying, but fundamentally she was still an imp at heart. I like to imagine the Final Fantasy VI like imp, you know? Like that's when you say the word imp, that's what I
なんかゾワッと
imagine.
きたな、今。
Victim A whispered quietly after sneezing. So, okay, two things to point out. One, when you sneeze, it means that you're being talked about. Cute little reference. Two, oh my god, the collar absolutely has the little latch. Never mind, that is very slutty.
なんだよ。風邪でもひいたか、しずき。よし。じゃあこんなとこで野球やっててもしょうがねえし、街に繰り出すとしましょうか。
This was their fourth game of five-man baseball. They'd gained some spectators since starting an hour ago and were playing special rules where infield grounders were called out when caught and home runs were rewarded with leftovers, sweet red bean soup cans. Hosuke Kinomi had gotten bored once he realized it was still going to be a while until it was his turn to play.
お前ほんと猿だったんだな。先立つものがねえから野球やろうぜって言い出したのはてめえだろうが。
それはそれ、これはこれっしょ。だって A 組のやつらとか集まってきたしさ。俺あいつら嫌いだしさ。なんかノリが合わないっていうか。
I just don't vibe with them, man.
安心しろ。あっちもてめえとは合わねえとよ。いい機会じゃねえか。気に食わないんなら試合で片付けてやれよ。
Tobimaro clearly punched back down at Kinomi while practicing his pitching at the wall. He was throwing harder than usual. Maybe he was angry because of the home run he gave up earlier. He was in Class A and had taken on the role of captain for the other boys from Class A who showed up to play.
ちょっと待った。そりゃ誤解だぜ、殿下。俺たち、木の実結構好きよ。バカなところとか、平気で女連中の品評会開くところとか、合コン企画
You
する
can't
とこ
say
ろと
that
か
word!
真似できねえよ、ほんと。
You can't say that word! If Alice hears you, you're gonna get in trouble. Although this is when this game was set, they would absolutely use that word. God, if you want a fun rabbit hole, go look up that word with Mario Party. I'm not gonna say it because it is considered offensive for some people. Look up that word with Mario Party to see a very fun thing that resulted in Nintendo of Europe localizing their own games. All the other boys in Class A nodded affirmatively.
ざけんな。てめえらいつも美味しいところだけ持っていきやがって。カラオケ会開いてよ。女の子と遊びたいよ。なんて甘えてきやがって。なんで気がついたら俺一人だけで会計してたの。一緒にテニス部覗きに行ったのにどうして俺だけ悪者なの。もしかして利用されてるだけってそろそろ気がついていいの。やべ、まだ気づいてなかった。本物だ。
Oh dang.
ごめん。木の実のおかげで僕にも彼女ができました。彼女の口癖は、
Oh
木の実
dang.
君よりマシよです。
Oh dang, yeah, these guys suck.
うわー、てめえら本気でムカつく。青くせえ学生生活を送ってんじゃねえ。
Sounds like one of the first swears in this game. God, I love when they sparingly use it. Not like a certain translation for Fate's Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works that just came out. Yeah, oh, if you know, oh, it's rough. It's real bad. Kinomi took his bat and swung it around as he chased after the boys in Class A. They seemed to be having fun running from him while sarcastically thanking him. One of Kinomi's best virtues was his ability to remain good-natured in the face of insults. Just for clarity's sake, I'm not saying that the person was wrong for translating things that way. It is a matter of personal, choice and preference. But as someone who thinks that swearing is best done, like a spice, you either use it for emphasis or sprinkle it in just every now and then to liven things up. I much prefer that to just having M. Yashiro yell a variety of swear words whenever he gets heated. That's the wrong button. What am I pressing?
木の実は人気者だな。
ああ、バカなのが救いだな。あれで下手に利口だったら犯罪者になってるところだ。
I don't know if that's a positive thing.
いや、その前に今度こそ青崎に締められるか。あいつ小ずるいチンピラには容赦ねえからな。
そうなのか。ん？今度こそ。
Sojiro fell deep into thought. From the way that sounded, Konomi seemed to have some kind of history with Aoko Ozaki.
木の実は青崎にその化装してたことがあるのか？
Where are you going, bud?
あ、化装？あ、化装か。
Okay, so full disclosure, when I was a kid, the first time I heard the word item was in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time flash animation about Ganondorf being invited to Zelda's slumber party. And at one point, Ganondorf says, "Me and Nabooru used to be an item." And me, as like a little kid, all I could think of was, so like, were you like fused together into a sword? A hook shot? What does that mean? I did not know that that actually was slang for a couple. Because it was in Zelda, I legitimately thought that it meant he was an item with her.
あのバカにそんな風情があるかって。ちょいとな、青崎と木の実には条件反射じみた事件があったんだよ。
Huh.
ありゃ入学式のことだ。そうだよな、木の実。
Konomi froze and glanced at Tobimaru's provocation.
ああ、入学式な。すげえ体してる女子がいたからさ、つい声をかけたんだよな。
Alright, what was that about him being a criminal?
彼女、どのクラスって。いや、でもまさか手が出るとは思わなかった。
Oh, I'm sure, buddy.
俺的には1センチ前で寸止めしようとしたんだけど、目測を誤った。俺の視覚情報より青崎の肉体のサイズがやや勝っていたということさね。
I'm surprised you're still alive. I'm surprised that wasn't her first blood. Konomi laughed loudly as he gazed up at the sky. That was all the explanation Sojiro needed to know what really happened that day at the entrance ceremony.
バカな。
Wow, that face. That is the angriest, most determined Sojiro I've ever seen.
なぜ命がある、木の実。
Yeah.
だろう？俺の顎垂直に跳ね上がったんだぜ。平手とか拳とかそういうレベルじゃねえの。下からギャーンだぜ。ギャーン。周りにいたギャラリー曰く、プールで縦に沈めたビート板が浮上するように青崎の靴がひらめいたらしい。
One, I know the exact metaphor he's talking about, but two, that means that yes, she did do her melty blood launcher on him.
今だから言いますけど、俺あの後の記憶がすっぽりないのです。
Oh, permanent brain damage. Rubbing his jaw, Konomi returned to their side, tired of wasting his energy chasing after the Class A boys. You see, he actually had a very flat jaw before this. Yeah.
そんなことより遊びに行こうぜ。殿下金持ってるだろ？おごってくれよ。
ったく。まあ、映画なら考えないこともない。ちょうど見たい映画あんだよ。映画の内容より見終わった後に文句言い合う方が楽しい部類の B 級でな。
I'm surprised that that's a thing in Japan also. Huh.
犠牲者が必要なんで、この際てめえでもいいぞ。
Oh. Oh, if there's one person who does not understand the concept of enjoyable bad movies, it's Sojiro. He is not irony poisoned.
やだ、映画とかつまんねえよ。大の男がさ、2時間も同じところ座ってられねえって。
Alright. ADHD. Sounds good. I was considering it, but you just said it out loud.
そんなんだったらゲーセンかコンビニの駐車場で駄菓子食ってる方が楽しいって。
There are some good games out right now.
お前、それ今の状況と何が違うんだ？
いいんだよ。外でだべってれば楽しいんだって。
He's not wrong.
あ、それともバンドでもやるか。
What?
今 UK ロックが熱い。バイト先の先輩にパンクロックなら誰でもできると聞いた。
No, oh boy.
ああ、そうかよ。ファッションにならねえようにな。
This was the rear courtyard during winter vacation. Naomi and Tobimaro spent the relaxing reprieve chattering away about nothing of much substance.
じゃあナンパ。駅前でナンパしようぜ。殿下がいれば年上のお姉さんも釣れるし。そうだ。お金がないならレディーたちにおごってもらえばいいんじゃない？
I don't think that would happen.
その年で紐か。てめえの人生設計、明るすぎて頭痛がするぜ。
ん？俺将来の展望だけはできてるからね。なあ、しずき、お前からも言ってやれよ。ナンパに行こうって。女の子たちと楽しく騒ごうって。殿下は立ってるだけでいいし、しずきだって年上のお姉さんから見たら弟属性っていうの？
He could.
うまくいけばこう、俺の時みたいに1時間後には一冬のアバンチュール。
Did he say adventure like that? But also what? Kinomi's hands were flailing around in excitement, dancing like so many waving tentacles. What? His mind was was apparently still swimming in the memories of a golden time he once had. Oh, a golden time he was pissed on. Anyway.
木の実、その時なんて言ったんだ？
What?
え？ああ、その時の決め台詞ね。お姉さん綺麗っすね。俺そこのビルのオーナーの息子なんですけど、ちょっと遊んでいきませんって。
Sure, that makes them gush, buddy.
嘘だってバレたら逃げられたけどな。
そうじゃなくて入学式。
あ、そっちか。青崎の首から下の部分に向かって。うわ、お前胸でかくね？
Sorry, what's with the arrow?
うわ、お前胸でかくね？
Is that the direction of his voice? He let out a loud guffaw as he recalled his story. His lack of intelligence and propriety was truly remarkable, or rather mind-boggling. Nonetheless, Kinomi was now in high spirits after recalling this exciting memory. Conversely, Sojiro was standing in complete sullen silence.
どうしたしずき？あ、やっぱりナンパとか興味ないか？
当たり前だ。てめえみたいな色ボケと宗十郎を一緒にするな。
いや、興味はある。
Oh!
可愛い女の子は可愛いと思うし、たまに薄着なところに出くわすと目のやり場に困るだろう。
I
ああいう
appreciate...
時、自分が男だってことを実感するよな。
I really appreciate that he's like, no, I get horny too. But it's the way he says it that's funny. His words shot through the air like a bolt of lightning. It was as shocking as when a kid sees the head of a character at an amusement park fall off, revealing the person inside.
そりゃそうだよな。すまん、見くびっていた。つまりしずきも俺たちの同志ってことでいいんだな。
This was like, okay, this is like when I first... Like, I have a cousin who is just like the most... Like, how can I put this? He's the type of guy who was like the guy in class getting 100%. He was like, he studied all the time. He got the best grades. He was the best of the school. And I wouldn't say antisocial, like he was still sociable, but it definitely was like, you know, whatever. And just, I remember once as a kid when he told me, like, well, not as a kid, but like, you know, we were in high school there. And he told me, he was like, did you see that one teacher? She had like huge knockers, right? And I was just like, yeah, because that'd be something I would say. And just for him to say this to me, I was like, dang, you may be someone who spends 90% of your life studying and doing stuff that, you know, doesn't seem like that would be a part of you. But even you two can just see a pair of big knockers and go, dang, I get it.
同志。
そうだ。例えばこう夏場の女子のうなじに光る汗とか。
All right,
テニス部
calm
の
down.
女子
Okay,
の
calm down
肩から
with the
脇にかけ
neck
ての
thing.
清
That's
涼感
weird.
とか ぶっちゃけ水泳部の競泳水着の後ろ姿だよ。
I'm with you for everything but the nape. That's weird. Sojiro's eyes were filled with question marks. Konomi's like, yeah, you're like one of us. You think about what it'd be like to cover a girl's toes in peanut butter and lick it off. And Sojiro's like, I'm not, actually. I just think that girls can be cute. Konomi's like, yeah, you want to get pissed on too, right, buddy? Apparently, he hadn't quite understood Konomi's explanation.
いやだから普段は同い年のガキにしか見えない女どもでもたまに見せる無防備な仕草とかグッとくるよな。
うん。無防備なのはちょっと考えてほしい。
Whoa, whether it was because Sojiro was unsure if Konomi was referring to someone in particular, or whether he was just concerned about how this related to himself, a troubled look washed over his face. I know, that is a tough pose to deal with. I understand, buddy.
いいんだって、それでいいんだって。なぜなら高校生男子の6割は性欲でできていますからね。
I'd say 60 would be the median. Some people it goes up to 95.
よし、そうと決まれば早速ナンパに行こうぜ。メンツが変われば超過も変わるってもんだ。
And with that, he happily put his arm around Sojiro's shoulder and headed off towards the train station.
ちょっと待て。あまりのことに絶句しちまったが、てめえは根本的に間違ってる。宗次郎、そもそもナンパって言葉が何なのか知ってるか？
Please tell me he's gonna be like, yeah, they're pretty light, right? I've picked up a girl before. Question. Define pickup. 1. To answer a telephone call. 2. To recite a Shakespearean work. 3. To transport someone from one place to another. 4. To pay someone's bill. 5. To try to persuade someone to have a romantic relationship.
2番か。
What? Wrong. 9 times out of 10, when a bunch of high schoolers are talking about picking up girls, they mean definition number 5. Sorry, what? Is number 2 a thing?
ほら見ろ。てめえとは興味の度合いが違うんだよ。女引っ掛けに行くなら一人で行け。なあ、あと岬の駅前はやめとけよ。うちの評判が悪くなるから。
Tobimaro waved his hand at Konomi as if shooing away a pest. Konomi clicked his tongue in frustration and removed his arm from around Sojiro's shoulders.
くそ面白くねえ。あいよ、おとなしく野球やってますよ。いつの間にか俺たちの番が回ってきたみたいだし。
He complained all the while, or all the way to the pitcher's mound. Sojiro looked on regretfully.
おい、まさか本気でナンパに行きたかったのか？
いや、ナンパはよくわからないけど、街には用があったんだ。ちょっと欲しいものがあって。そうだ、飛び丸。生徒会室にあるあの白いやつ、どこに行けば買えるか知ってるか？
Oh, the whiteboard of the chapter title? Sojiro spread his arms wide, making a bizarre gesture. 1 hour later, at the department store in front of the train station, Tobimaro was still confused after he figured out what Sojiro wanted to buy.
しかし、なんだってこんなものを。
Is he gonna put it up and be like, this is our cleaning schedule. This is our, cooking schedule. The Kuonji estate was surprisingly comfortable for all 3 of its occupants this evening. Maybe it was because the dinner Alice had prepared was so wonderful.
7回？アリスの実家じゃ1日に7回も食事をとるのか？
What?
一体どうやって？
Oh, is this talking to Alice? Because you would have breakfast, tea, lunch, tea, supper, tea, midnight snack. Sojiro asked Alice this question in the sunroom from the 3rd sofa, brought up from the mansion's basement by himself. I was wondering if when they're gonna address the fact that he actually had a seat now.
食事をとっているわけじゃないわ。ティータイムは1日7回行うのが理想というだけ。
Honestly, I'm the opposite. I enjoy like one meal as like my main meal for the day, with the rest just being tiny things like coffee to wake up.
寝起きのアーリー、朝食のブレックファースト、午前の11時ズ、午後のミディティーブレイク、 午後の社交会アフタヌーン、
I was close.
夜会のハイティー、ディナー後のアフターディナー。この中で食事に該当するのはハイティーだけよ。田舎での話だけれど。
Alice was enjoying her black tea by herself in the sunroom. She was drinking a royal blend, a fine blend of Darjeeling, Ceylon, and Assam orange Pico tea leaves. Ooh, it's actually a nice sounding combo. To accompany her tea, she had some strawberries dipped in Oh man. Okay, listen up. I want you, if you've never had it, take a strawberry. Cut the green off so it is just the pure edible part of the strawberry. Take a dish and put a little bit of sugar in it. I want you to take that strawberry, which is hopefully still wet from its own juices, its own moisture. I want you to lovingly dip it in that sugar, spin it around until it is fully coated, enough that the sugar kind of clumps, right? Mixing with the natural sugars of the strawberry. And I want you to take a bite of that. The flavor that you get is so delectable. It's honestly addictive. There's no way I can ever eat strawberries any other way. Please, if you've never done this, do this and report back with your findings. That is your comment section homework from Professor Tanner. I would be too. She was in a world all her own.
つまり、一日中お茶を飲んでいるのか?
Me to the British people that I know.
そうね。そう暮らせるのなら理想的ね。
Wow, that's a lot to not say that. She couldn't understand why this was so hard for Sojiro to grasp. Alice picked a strawberry up with her slender fingers and carried it to her mouth as if she was going to give it a kiss. Sojiro's like, wow, that's almost like my penis. Sojiro was briefly transfixed by this graceful sight and shook his head to clear his thoughts. He had become slightly too sensitive to the fact that they were indeed of the opposite sex, perhaps due to his conversation earlier that day.
でもその口ぶりだと、アリスは7回できてないんだ。
3回が限度よ。相方が未熟だから、やらなくちゃいけないことが増えてしまって。
相方。
Sojiro turned to look to his side. There he saw.
何よ、1日3回も開いてれば上出来じゃない。うちの生徒会なんて黙ってお茶飲んでるだけよ。いちいち鍋からお湯沸かしてポット使ってたっぷり蒸らすなんて3時のおやつと夕食後だけで十分でしょ。アリスは手間をかけすぎ。私贅沢は好きだけど贅沢になれるのはごめんだから。
Even though Aoko was arguing, she still seemed to be in a good mood.
贅沢なのは青子たちの方よ。日本の水道水はこんなにも美味しいのに。どうしてあなたたちはこの黄金の価値に気づかないのかしら。
Alright. This is wild. Because this is like a real conversation that I have with people. If you have access to delicious tap water, frickin' take it. I don't have good tap water here. It's actually not recommended to drink much. Versus back home in Canada, where I literally had the voted best tasting tap water in North America. And let me tell you, that tap water was so good. And I miss it.
1日7回もお茶会開く国民性じゃないからでしょ。気をつけなさいね、宗十郎。美味しい紅茶を入れようとしてペットボトルの水なんて買ってきたらアリスに1時間近くお説教されるから。
I mean, that is
知識
dumb.
も心構えもなってないって。
That is so stupid. You're literally boiling it. Who cares? What? It was true that better water should make a better cup of tea. No? What? If you're boiling it, you're reducing it to just the basic water. Because boiling water gets rid of any problems that it would have, right? That's why Aoko went out and bought bottles of natural Oh, this Dasani drinking bitch. Why would you do that? She bought bottles of natural spring water as soon as she moved into the Kwanji estate. If you live in a place where you have clean, drinkable tap water, why the frick would you ever waste your money on natural spring water? Her proud show and tell to Alice had led to their first petty argument. I would argue with you too. The two were exhausted after quarreling about something one would think wasn't nearly as significant as magecraft.
青崎さん、夕食を作る気力残ってる？
Aozaki-san? Miss Aozaki? Alice asked.
パス。主義に反するけど、てんやものを頼んでみよう。
And that had been her first time ordering from a soba noodle shop by phone. Their slovenly attitude toward household chores had only accelerated since then.
いやー、あの後は悔しくって、お茶について調べまくったもんだわ。アリスに質問したり競い合ってたら、いつの間にか私も紅茶党の仲間入りよ。私、姉貴の影響で中学までコーヒー党だったのに。
What a character.
そこには感謝しているわ。
Oh, I mean, I'm still team coffee. I drink both, but I'm still team coffee.
青子が連れ出してくれなかったら、
God.
コープランドのアンティークカップに出会えなかったもの。
I recently found a place that has this type of coffee that I've never heard of. It's called Oiran coffee. Oiran. Oiran. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I thought about it, like, doesn't that basically mean like a Japanese prostitute? No, completely different meaning. Regardless, it might be the most delicious coffee I've ever had. It's a little premium from the coffee place I get called Luckin Coffee. But if you ever see that on a menu, get it. It is the best coffee ever.
気がついたら骨董品回りしてたものね。去年の私たち。
I don't understand antique shopping. I don't get it. The only antiques I care about are CRTs and old video game consoles. Everything else, nah, give me that modern stuff. The drawing room and the sunroom. Though they were not even in the same room, the two were enjoying a fun and lively conversation nonetheless. Sojiro wondered why they didn't just sit together and chat in the drawing room since they get along so well. He didn't yet understand how the physical distance between them made those stories of old memories more meaningful.
アリスは外に出ない子だったんだ。
ええ、この子ったらほんと屋内派で、外に出るのは学校だけだったんだから。今日だってずっと洋館にいたんでしょ、アリス。
違うわ。外に用がないだけよ。今日はプロイの補充に忙しかっただけだし。
I think that's fair. If you don't have to go outside, you don't have to, you know?
それだ。プロイの補充ってことは、遊園地の時みたいなのはここで生まれてるのか？
Ooh, ploy lore. Let's see. Why? Why are you smiling like this? Ever since that terrible incident, Sojiro had been sensitive whenever ploys came up. He'd only been worried about escaping with his life at the time, but as time passed, what were those mysterious things? He became filled with curiosity.
何？知りたい？宗十郎。
教えてくれるなら知りたいけど、いや、よく考えると聞かない方がいいような。
よし、そういうことなら話してあげましょう。ちょっとした触りだけなら怒らないわよね、アリス。
Oh, please, yes. Ako quickly recrossed her legs in anticipation.
別に私とあなたの違いを話すぐらいなら
Oh.
いいけど。
Huh?
よし、決まった。って何よあんた、妙な顔して。自分？
いや、そうではなく。
Oh, is he gonna look at her knockers? Sojiro diverted his eyes at Aoko's direct stare. Sojiro and Aoko currently only spent time together after dinner. Every once in a while, he would catch a glimpse of some innocent gesture of hers and wouldn't know how to
いいん
respond.
だ、続けてくれ。
He's literally
Sure.
not looking at her boobers pressed together.
よし、じゃあコマドリ呼ばないとね。それでは特別授業なぜなにプロイキッシャー始まり。
Aoko snapped her fingers. Apparently, she was trying to mimic turning on the switch to a TV. It was a veritable TV special. That's how a lecture about a certain brand of magecraft performed and directed by Alice Kwonji first aired. Oh my god, please be like a please teach me, Miss CL. Oh, unfortunately, the special production was cancelled only 30 minutes after it began. Apparently, the content had been a little too esoteric for Sojiro. Oh,
分かってはいたけど、
I wanted to know.
しずきくんの覚えの悪さは三千世界に響き渡るわね。
She almost said he was better off dead, but took a deep breath to avoid being hurtful.
かわいそうなアリス。さすがに今回は同情するわ。そいつにとっちゃ私の魔術もアリスの魔術もすごく便利でくくられちゃうものだなんて。
Ako was exasperated. She also felt some measure of regret. She should have realized that this would be the outcome.
そんなことはない。ちゃんと区別はつく。青崎は壊すだけで、アリスはいろんなものを作って、それで壊すんだろ。アリスの方がやや生産的だ。
You're not wrong.
怖いわ、青子。私、どうしてか胸が苦しい。こういうことって本当にあるのね。まるでお気に入りのカップを割ってしまった時、通りかかったキリンがでもトロルよりマシですよ。
どういう意味よそれ。
Alko glared at Alice sitting across from her. Alice had alluded to a fairy tale about a less than intelligent giant who lived under a bridge.
今の宗十郎の指摘結構合ってると思うけど、私アリスのプロイが生活の役に立つとこ見たことないし、コマドリも双子も最後はドジって終わりじゃない。
それは結果論よ。役立とうという諸子は尊重するべきだわ。だいたいあれやそれが最後に全部台無しにするのは私の責任じゃないのだし。
Both girls were now just intent on calling the other out. It seemed neither wanted to admit their own shortcomings when it came to magecraft, even when it came down to a silly argument about who was the worst at breaking things.
いや、でもアリスの使い魔は役に立ってるぞ。前に森で落ち葉を集めている豚を見かけた。あれはアリスの使い魔なのに、なんで青崎に言ってやらないんだ？まあ、いいことをしたのに黙っているのは美徳だって山城先生は言ってたけど。
Alice had simply sent the chatty twins out into the forest to break them in, as it were. To Sojiro, this had seemed like a good deed. Ako was visibly getting more fed up with this conversation since Sojiro had decided Alice was the victor here.
掃除をしているから生産的とか、ずいぶん小さな判断ですこと。
Aoko's a
もっ
big,
とこう、
you
大
know,
きな視点で評価できないのかしらね。このお掃除マシーンは。
why sometimes they speak so much more. Aoko is a big, you know, supporter of fire is the ultimate cleanser. Burn it down, raise it till there's nothing left.
大きな視点。例えば、お金儲けとか？
Huh? What? The two girls both tried to remain calm in the face of such a direct question. Even a fool could think of a good idea sometimes.
呆れた。我ながらその発想はなかったわ。盲点すぎたっていうか、基本魔術って損失しか生まないものだから。
Alice nodded affirmatively.
それで例えば、あなたから見て私の魔術はどんな金策ができると思う？
Please just be like the destruction crew at a job site for construction.
青崎なら、そうだな。
What?
マグロを捕まえるのはどうだろ
Huh? What? Silence. Ako adjusted the position of her crossed legs.
なんでマグロ？
Yeah. It's because they're big? She asked this question seriously.
う。いや、朝一で大変高価だと聞いた。
Okay.
でも捕まえるのは難しいって。
Yeah, they're big.
あんな巨大なものが水の中では車より早く泳ぐと。
Are you expecting her to just go down in the water and do quarter circle forward C or something, bro?
そりゃ地球が誇る大型肉食魚だからね。お寿司屋さんでも最強だし。 平均時速60キロ、マックススピードは時速180キロに迫ると聞くわ。
Okay. Close the wiki page, Nasu.
部長曰く青崎は泳ぎがうまいって。
The frick?
泳いで捕まえられないか？
How is this man so
もう
dense?
魔術関係ないわね、それ。仮にマダンで迎撃できたとしても保存できないわ。私、回転を早めるのが専門で止めるのはちょっと。アリスは？
魚は苦手。
Dang. Alice quietly added that some of them were oddly interesting to her, so she wouldn't feel comfortable harming them. She's an anti-pescatarian. Ako shrugged her shoulders, throwing that idea to the side.
ところで、喧嘩売ってる？しずきくん。
すまない。実はちょっとからかってみた。
Oh, you can just remotely control it like that, huh? The collar around his neck tightened for a good 5 seconds. It was as tight as a sleeper hold.
と、まあ、青崎には乱暴なことしか期待できないとして、アリスはどうなんだ？何も言わないということは、魔術でお金儲けは気に入らない？
そうね。好き嫌いはともかく、お金があるのはいいことだわ。教会の目をくぐり抜けることができるなら、青子には頑張ってほしい。
危ない目に遭うのは私だけか。アリスのプロにはなんかないの？土食べたら金に変換するようなカバとか。
Oddly specific.
ほら、中世の貴族はお抱えの錬金術師で日夜金を作り出す研究をしてたって言う
Ooh,
じゃない？
let's not bring up alchemists. The less we talk about the Atlas Institute, the better.
あれはただの金食い虫。
Dang.
まあ、騙した貴族たちの貯蓄を食いつぶして、
Yeah.
新しい技術を生み出したから、このマイセンも、もともとは金を作ると豪語した錬金術師が、苦し紛れに生んだ時期なわけだし。
Interesting. Alice ran a finger across the edge of the teacup in her hand.
はあ、錬金術師ほど当てにならないやつはいないってわけか。
Hey,
今じゃ
there is
プ
the
ラハの錬
Atlas
金術師は
Institute.
証券魔術師。エジプトの方は兵器作ってるって話だしね。
Don't know about the one in Prague, though. That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
ええ、ちょっと期待してしまったけど、もともと私たちは現実社会と折り合いが悪いのよ。ロンドンの名門になると、家訓と授業は別物と割り切っていて、金融専門の弟子を取っているわ。噂だけど、ある財閥の総帥は、社員全員の血を吸って、情報を共有するネットワークを作っているとか。
Okay, this is interesting.
何でも吸血鬼になった理由が精神的につながった決して内部闘争しない紹介を作りたいからだったとか。
I heard about this, yeah. Is that the vampire who... Is that the vampire who does the casino? Dead Apostle Ancestors Nasuverse. There's the one who yeah, it's like the casino, right? Let's see here. Let's see, which one is this? Oh, what are their names? Oh, frick. I'm looking at the list here and I can't remember. Dark Lord of the Van Femme. Yes. Dark Lord of the Business World. Van Femme. Right. So, I'm just gonna do a quick overview here. Oh, frick, he's in Strange Fake? Well, spoilers for me, kind of. But, okay. Let's just see here. Yes, he is briefly mentioned in Maho Tsukai no Yoru. Good. Good. Cool. I like the fact I can be like, I know who that is. Ah, I'm a real fan
極ま
now.
ってるな。要はそこまで徹底しないと魔術でお金儲けは難しいってことか。
God, I'm excited to read Strange Fake. That'll come later. I've been busy with other things.
アリスのプロイで遊園地をやるのはどう？
Sojiro clapped his hands together in excitement.
それはいい。襲われるのはもうコリコリだけど、あの遊園地なら連日連夜大盛況だ。
私のプロイを見せ物にする気？
でも大受けよ、絶対。ロボットって言い張ればみんな騙されるし。
Feel like that's the quickest way to get the association on you.
却下よ青子。この話もう一度したら絶好だから。
本気で怒らせたか。だってさ、宗十郎、遊園地は諦めましょう。今度こそ友情を失っちゃうし。
I'll go back down after Alice's cold rejection of the idea. The small talk continued, but the girls grew more distant as they tried to avoid further conflict. Sojiro looked at the two with a perplexed expression.
ちょっといいかな。今猛烈に気になったんだが。
何？
いや、青崎もアリスも遊園地で本気で殺し合っただろう。
Mm-hmm.
それなのにまだ友達だったのか？
It was certainly a rude question to ask. But it was also an obvious thing to ask. Aoko and Alice looked at each other as they thought of the answer. They stared at each other for about 2 seconds.
ギリギリあり？
It happens.
まあギリギリ。
ありなんだ。
Though their friendship was surprisingly lighthearted, it also seemed to be forged from bonds harder than steel. This is a long sub-story. Their long and extended tea party had just started to get going when Sojiro had to leave. He didn't really want to, since he was enjoying himself, but he couldn't miss his part-time job.
2時間も話してたなんて珍しいわね。アリスもいつになく饒舌だったし。
成り行きよ。しずきくんがあれこれ青子に質問して、あなたがそれを私にも向けてきただけ。ほんと、私たちが一日何をしているのかなんて聞いても仕方がないのに。
いや、それがそうでもない。大変役に立ちました。
はい？
Sojiro was carrying something down the hallway. Oh, here we go, ignoring Aoko's surprise. It was a large whiteboard, much like the one in the student council room. On the shiny new board was written, Chores List, Mansion Cleaning. Oh my god, it is literally that. First floor east wing only. Breakfast, dinner, cleaning the bath.
なんかいろいろと詮索してくると思ったら。
うん。歪みを正したかったら、まずどこがおかしいのか知らないといけないからね。今夜の話じゃ、2人とも1日に1時間ぐらいは使える時間があるみたいだし、3人で1つの台所を使ってるんだから、
Oh, wow.
ローテーションを組んだ方がいいだろう。
Oh my god. Sojiro was clearly proud of his attempt at making things better around here.
待って。私はあなたを住まわせているだけで、協力なんてする気はないって言ったでしょ。
うん、言ったね。でも、夕食を用意するなら私の分もお願い。と言いたいのなら、相互扶助は当然の義務だと思うんだ。あと3人で食費を集めれば、その分美味しいものが食べられるよ。
It is true. Variety. Sojiro's words pierced Alice's heart. She knew she had asked him to make dinner for her on many occasions. It was a carefully planned attack designed to make her repent for her sins, and she knew it.
でもホワイトボードを用意することはないんじゃない？当番なんて今まで口約束で決めてきたんだし。
Oh, she hates writing down the future. Alice nodded her agreement. There was nothing less reliable in this world than a verbal promise. Even if they didn't say so, Sojiro could tell by the look on their faces that they intended to skip out on whatever task they were assigned to do.
ダメだ。正しい生活を送るには正しい役割を把握しないと。こういう風に書いておけば後になっても忘れないだろ。
Dang. Aoko recoiled at this new development. She couldn't tell if Sojiro was just being nice or if he was saying he wouldn't tolerate any slackers.
なんてこと。
New face.
証明文を書かせて責任の所在を明らかにしようだなんて。
Wow, we're seeing so many different Alice faces. This is good. This is good. Every new face is like a layer peeled away, right? Alice was absolutely terrified at the prospect of daily chores.
決まりだな。誰がどこを担当するかはまた明日話し合おう。 今の二人が大変なのは分かってるから、しばらくの間は
Look at this dude. Look at this male life. And with that, Sojiro left. The two girls left behind could only sit and stare, stunned at the shiny new whiteboard.
こういうのを飼い犬に手を噛まれるというのかしら。
I want Aoko to be like,
割と
I'm
小尺
gonna
な
break
性格を
it.
していたのね。
If my magecraft is good for destroying things, I'm gonna destroy that.
知ってた。私、あいつがそういうやつって知ってたわ。
But now it's too late. They'd already been caught in the trap. Just this morning, Aoko had received a portion of the salad Sojiro prepared. She knew it would be wrong for her to veto the idea of them all helping each other out. The concept of dividing up specific chores made perfect sense to Aoko after all. Even so, she wanted to be able to tip the ratio of chores in her favor, at least sometimes.
青子、あなた何を考えているか丸分かりよ。
そうでしょうとも。間違いなく同じことを考えてたからね。
Aoko sighed as she grabbed the whiteboard. She was going to hang it in the kitchen so they could all see it. Alice was still staring at the whiteboard blankly.
せめて新しい項目が増えなければいいけど。
She would come to regret ever saying those words. Nice. First year. Are you serious? Oh, wait. Oh, no. First year 2. Okay. All right. Whoa. Oh, my God. We actually get it. Oh, my God. Oh, good. I want to read that after. Yeah. Wow, we have a lot to actually read. Cool. So, thank you all for watching. Next time we'll be on to Scar Red. I'm very happy that those are real things we'll be able to read. Yes, good. I'm happy. It skipped it, which is good because it'd go on forever if it didn't, but I'm excited to actually read those. Yes! Hopefully it's read by Robin. Please tell me it's read by Robin. Thank you all for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time for some more. Let's read Witch on the Holy Night. We will see you then for that. Ciao.